for all the listeners out there, man, this guy's a UVA legend, ACC legend. I don't think people talk about you enough in terms of the toughness and the grit, man, that this guy brought every single day, every single night. None other than Mr. Harold Deane. What's going on, my man?
First and foremost, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate the opportunity and to be here to discuss, basketball and life, man. This is good.
All right, cool, man. How you staying safe through this COVID-19 crisis?
Yes, sir. Look, I'm about to show you something right now. I'm taking my elderberry.
Okay, that's it.
Right. Hold on. I got my ginseng I just took. I got my echinacea as well.
Okay.
I do my vinegar and lemon drop shots. You know what I mean? Trying to stay, healthy.
So you got 09, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So listen, man. You're from Virginia. Take me back to high school, man. What was it like for you in high school in terms of, and this is for the people that don't know, where in terms of McDonald's All-American, what type of guy were you? Did you have those accolades in high school?
Oh, I did not. I was nominated for the McDonald's All-American games and stuff, but I wasn't one of those guys that actually played in the game. I was a late bloomer. My body developed slowly. I wasn't that fast. I wasn't that quick, but I stayed in the gym. I knew I had to get better, and I just really wanted to improve. Every day I went to the gym, I was always trying to get better. In between the ages of 14 and 16, that's about 9th grade through 11th grade, my dad was fortunate enough to be the coach at Virginia State University, and I was able to play against college guys at the age of 14, 15, and 16, which really helped my development.
Okay, so how was that for you in terms of your recruiting process in high school, being that you were a late bloomer? How did you actually end up at UVA?
Wow, great question. So I played for a small AA school, Matoka High School. It was in the same AA conference as Brunswick High School, which Bryant Stiff, who's the all-time leading scorer.
Yes, sir.
He went to Brunswick High School, and then I saw him go to UVA. He was one of the guys that really inspired me as a young student athlete trying to get better and having hopes and dreams and aspirations of playing ACC basketball. So I want to give, a lot of love to Bryant Stiff and his family right now. I just saw something online. I think he just lost his father, I think, yesterday. So I want to send my condolences out to Bryant Stiff and his family, and, condolences to the family right now.
Yeah, another UVA legend, Bryant Stiff. Now, when you got to UVA, funny, I mean, it's almost like the perfect thing fell in your lap, man. Corey Alexander, who's another UVA legend, he got hurt, and here you are, a freshman, thrown in the fire. Now, did that? How did that motivate you? Did that motivate you, or did that discourage you, being that you were a freshman and you had to put your boots on?
Well, the story actually goes a lot further back, even before that time when I got, the opportunity to play, as the starting point guard. Me and Corey Alexander played against each other when I was about 16 and he was about a year or two older than me in Charlottesville at the Slaughter Gym. He had just signed with UVA, and I was playing for Richmond Metro AAU, and he was playing for another AAU team. That was the first time I ever seen an athlete at that size to be able to run and jump as high and just, being so athletic. And so me and Corey had crossed paths as teenagers when he just signed to UVA. And I told this story on the talk show before, and I'm gonna tell it again. So the game went to overtime. Corey had 32 points. I had 24 points. We beat them in overtime. Corey will say he had 40 or 50 points, but I do remember and recall it. But he had a dunk one time in the game, man. The ball was rolling past half court. He picked it up. One dribble from the three-point line. His foot maybe, 15 inches in front of the free throw line, and he takes off with 1 foot and slams the ball. I had never seen an athlete at his size be able to jump so high at that time. So he was inspiring to me. That first time I ever seen him play, the quickness and the athletic ability.
Yes.
So fast forward, I followed his career. He had a great year, freshman year at UVA. UVA started recruiting me when I went to Fort Union Military Academy. And they said, hey, we got an extra spot available. Do you want, to sign with us? So I signed early. That summer going into UVA, which was 93-94 at George Mason University, we played summer pickup ball. And it was at that time when Michael Powell, who was a great guard. I love Michael Powell and what he could do at 6'3", 205, very athletic. Jamal Robinson, as you know.
Yeah.
Jamal was one of the highly skilled players. I had never seen someone with his size, quickness, athletic ability, and skill level.
Right.
All skill level was extreme. We always talk about this. If Jamal played in a Pete Gillen style offense where he just let guys get up and down the floor and didn't have so much structure, Jamal probably would be top 5 in the record books at any school because of his skill set and his athletic ability. Yes.
Jamal was tough, man. At 6'6", 6'7", he was definitely tough. Coming into the ACC, do you feel like that situation for you was a blessing in disguise, or did you feel like you were ready?
I thought I was ready. That extra year of Fort Union, I gained 10 or 15 pounds of muscle. We started off with defensive slides the first 15 to 20 minutes of practice every day without any basketballs. We had to get up at 6:15 every morning. Like, my discipline level, that extra year in high school, after high school, prepared me for college. So it was a blessing in disguise that the opportunity came. But really, man, I just worked my butt off. I knew I wasn't the quickest, fastest, or strongest guy. And then I wanted to try to level the playing field by just continuing to work hard.
Right. Now you were a 6'2" guard, and I'm gonna be honest with you, man. When I first saw you at UVA, I had never seen a guard up, and you were considered a big guard at 6'1", 6'2". I had never seen a guard in the ACC that chiseled and that physical and who got after it on both ends of the court. Did you use that to your advantage when you were guarding some of the elite guards not only in the ACC but in the country?
Yes, indeed. I think my defense really improved. You got to think about this. If I'm going against an All-American in Corey Alexander, super athletic guard, and Jamal Robinson, Michael Powell, I mean, these guys, these are some of the elite athletes, as far as being on the East Coast and what they could do with a basketball. So if I could, keep up with these guys and guard these guys every day in practice, I felt like, that was improving my game on both ends, not just, offensively, but defensively as well.
Right. And then you had to go against Curtis Staples, who could shoot it. That was big too.
Yeah, Kurt had the quickest release that I had ever seen in college basketball. What was very unique about Kurt's shot, which a lot of people thought, well, he shoots it from the front, he might get it blocked. Well, hey, look, if a guy can get it off quick, it doesn't matter where it's coming from, because he's been practicing it so much that he can get that thing off before you get there. And Curtis, he's probably, one of the greatest shooters that, I've ever played with in my career, man. He put a lot of time and effort in. I really enjoyed playing with him.
What would you say your welcome to the ACC moment was? Do you have that one play or I don't know, it's something that happened where you was like, damn, I'm here.
Yes, I'm glad you bringing this up. I used to live in LA from 2012 to 2016, and now I'm gonna bring this full circle in a second. I met a guy that knew a player that I played against at Clemson University. My freshman year, the last name was Bovain. I think it was either Anthony Bovain. I can't remember his first name. But we were playing at Clemson my freshman year. And I came down running offense. I went to pass the ball to the wing. And he elbows me in my mouth, busts my lip and everything, right? I fall to the referee, does not call foul. This is ACC basketball, and I'm a freshman. I don't expect to get any calls, right? So the next time down, I said, all right, I'm going to pick him up full court after he busts my lip. I'm going to let him know, like, all right, you bust my lip, but, you know, I'm here to play. Yeah. So he gets the ball and tries to go towards the right, and I cut his right hand off. And I noticed every time he spent, he used to leave the ball in his back pocket. And so when I cut him off, he fell off balance, and he lost the ball. So I steal the ball, come down, and I slam the ball with two hands. And I think that was my arrive in the ACC moment, because a lot of young kids, if they get knocked down or elbowed or busted in the lip or whatever, they may have backed away from that competition and been intimidated. Mm-hmm. But all the time and effort I put in the gym, my strength, my physicality, I felt like that was an advantage that I had over a lot of the guards that I played against.
Okay, being that you were put in a unique situation, man, as a freshman, man, when would you say your confidence began to grow? Like, you know what, I can do this. I mean, I'm here. Great
question. The first 2 months was a little bit rough. I'm not gonna lie to you, because it's growing pains. You talking about adjusting to the speed of the game, the physicality of the game, the size, all of that from high school to college. I mean, it's a lot. And then you have to run offense and make sure you're getting people the ball as they need it. So I would say a turning point was a loss first. We lost at Old Dominion at the Norfolk Scope. Mm-hmm. I took a shot with, I think, under 2 minutes or 1 minute left, and I missed the shot, and it wasn't even close. And we ended up losing that game. I'll never forget that. And I felt real bad about it. It's kind of like, you know, what happened with Kobe, as far as when he played against Utah, shot those air balls that one year, and all summer long, he ends up, you know, putting the time in, and he became, you know, one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Rest in peace, Kobe. So those moments for me, having a low, and then after Christmas time, I end up hitting a big three at the end of a game. I think it was, I don't know if it was Coppin State or somebody at home, but it was a really big shot that I hit. And I said, man, you know, I stepped up at the right time. Mm-hmm. Previously, I had missed a shot at that time, but this time I stepped up and hit that big shot, and that's when I knew, I can do this. Yeah,
right. So, I mean, you went on to have a amazing career, man, at UVA, man. You had a lot of accolades. You were able to play against some of the best players in the country. You were able to compete against some of the best guards, and you were a tough defender. What did you take pride in that, in terms of being able to guard these tough guards in the ACC? Did you hang your hat on that?
Most definitely. I won't go into details, but there was a situation that happened when I first got to UVA, and that first day in the gym, everybody's in the gym trying to figure out who's the new guys and everything. And I would just say that my defense that day was so good. Everybody was looking like, this guy's different. Like, there was something different about me, my toughness, me being able to shut guys down. Like, you know, it's hard to stop somebody that can really score and is a great offensive player. But if you anticipate well, you have some physicality, and you understand the game, you know, you can stop people. And I really hung my hat on stopping people. And, you know, what I was very proud of is that the coaches wanted me to guard the best guard player on the opposing team as a freshman. So
Wow.
usually as a freshman, you know, they're not going to give you those big time assignments like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they gave me those assignments, and you know, I stepped up. But I will say this: I'm one of 5 guys out on the floor. It still takes a team effort to play good defense, because while you can shut somebody down individually a few times, it really takes a team effort to really have success. It's not just one person that can just do everything by themselves.
Right, right. Out of your 4 years, man, at UVA, what would you say your toughest challenge was? And it doesn't have to be on the basketball court. It could be in the classroom. It could be in the anything, man. Just being a student athlete. What was your toughest challenge?
2 things. On the court, I was always a scoring guard. I could always score. You know, I averaged almost 30 points a game. In high school, it was like 28 points or something like that. I played the 2 sometimes in high school, and I played the 1 in AAU in my teenage years. So because I was a scoring guard, there were times where I could take over games for 2 or 3 minutes and get 10 or 12 points. But then sometimes, you know, because I was a point guard, I had to make sure that I still got guys involved. So I think my biggest challenge was to balance me being able to score the basketball and be a point guard, but then also still keep my teammates involved. Right. So on the court, that was my biggest challenge. Off, time management, and then just social life, because I went from being at an all-boys military school in 93, 94, and then I go to UVA the next year, where I don't have curfew. You know, there's females running all around campus at all times of night, and you're one of 12 or 15 guys on the team. And so, you know, you have a spotlight on you per se. And so to try to manage your time, your free time, when you need to get your schoolwork done, having some social life, but not, you know, allowing that to take over the purpose and the reason why you're at school. I think that was another challenge, you know, big challenge for me, and I'm sure a lot of athletes.
Right. Now, Harold, you okay. You playing at UVA, man. You're doing your thing. You're that guy. The NBA has to be on your mind. All right. You go undrafted. Take me back, man, to that night where you go undrafted, and you know you knew you had put in that work at UVA in the ACC, one of the best conferences in America. What was that like for you?
Most definitely. I'll even rewind it a little further back. I can remember I dropped 39 down in Clemson, and that was my junior year, and everybody was asking me after the game, what you gonna do? You gonna stay in, or you gonna come out in that 96 draft? And I felt physically I was ready. Mentally, I didn't know if I was ready to take that step right at that moment, because at that time, nothing was scripted as far as coming out early and stuff. That was still something new that people were trying and toying with. And so from the standpoint that my mom and dad were teachers and graduated from college, I was suggested to finish school and the NBA will be there, right?
Right.
As we know now, while you're young and while you are able to go, and while the iron is hot, you have to strike when the iron's hot. I did not know coming back into my senior year that I would have a broken leg, which was a stress fracture that I played on for 3.5, 4 months, which really hurt my draft status, because I could have left after my sophomore year and my junior year. And a lot of people don't know this. And so I didn't. I came back, and you cannot predict injuries. You don't know, those things are going to happen. So my point average dropped probably 4 or 5 points from my junior to my senior year. And then we did not have a good year my senior year. We were kind of subpar, even though we made the NCAA tournament. Our best year as UVA players was 95 when we went to the Elite Eight.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're playing very well at a high level and you're having success, and then you start to kind of go in a direction where your team's not winning and, you know, things are not going as you would like them to go, then the dynamic can change. So that's why I said strike when the iron's hot. So fast forward to draft day. I can remember my roommate and his dad, they wanted to, you know, do a draft party and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, you know, I'm a real kind of like introverted person. If I don't know people and stuff, I don't like to like put myself out there too much. I was like, nah, I don't think I want to do that. You know, I don't want to have no draft party or nothing. And then at the time, you know, they were saying, you know, maybe second round, they didn't know. And I knew that when I recovered from my stress fracture and I went to the NBA pre-draft camps, they took an x-ray of my leg and they told me that they could still see a hairline fracture in the break in my shin still.
Wow.
So, yeah, but guess what? At the camps, I was running and jumping and dunking and looking super athletic. Like, they could see that I was in great shape and looked great. But when you're talking about investing money in someone and you're looking at x-rays that say, okay, well, this is not healed here. There's still a hairline fracture in this break. So there was a question mark there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether is he healthy? What's going on with the leg? You know, it was a lot of kind of things that were not etched in stone as far as my health. And so that day when I didn't get drafted, you know, it was tough. But you know, what I learned, and you know, sometimes God will put you in situations for you to realize some things that you don't realize. And I felt like at that moment when I was at my lowest and I didn't get drafted, I learned a lot about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot about people also. And when you're at your lowest, you got to stay positive. You got to keep the right people around you. And you just got to continue to work towards your goals and your dreams. And if it's meant to be, it will be. So although that was a tough time, I learned a lot about myself and about life. And, you know, I'm so thankful for everything that I have gone through to this day.
Right, that's work, man. So you don't play in the NBA, but you do go overseas, and you know, you had a pretty successful career overseas. Can you talk about your overseas journey and experience, and you know, how did that go for you?
You know what? I can, but I want to rewind just a little bit. So I worked out with Washington, I worked out with Orlando, and I worked out with the Bulls.
Yeah, okay.
Robert Parrish told me in the summer of '97, he said, you know, we believe that you're an NBA point guard, but the triangle offense, we don't think that that's a system for you. You're better off handling the ball and making things happen with the ball in your hands. And I agreed with that. So people saw my potential. They saw the athleticism. They saw that I was capable of playing at that level. Time, you know, having the right time and being in the right place at the right time is everything. And so when I worked out with Washington, I remember God was there, and we were battling all summer. I played so well that even God Shamgar was like, hey, you might need to go to the Knicks, man. Like, the Knicks is guard. But here's the thing. If I'm there and we compete and you telling me the Knicks need guards, like, I'm not probably going to receive that information the way that someone else would receive it if we weren't competing against each other.
Yeah.
But a lot of respect to him and his game. He was a great guard. He brought a lot of new things to the basketball culture. I really love competing against him every day in the summertime down at Bowie State. And then last thing, I ran into Bernie Bickerstaff. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. We're good.
All right. I ran into Bernie Bickerstaff years after I had worked out with the Wizards. And he saw me at a cookout in Maryland. He said, son, I might have been wrong about you. He said, I realized you could play. I might have been wrong about you. And he said that to me. And it was gratifying enough to know that he knew that I could play.
Right.
A lot of people knew that I could play. It wasn't a question of if I could play or not. But again, time and situation, and are you the right fit for what they need at that time? There's a lot of different things that are not in your control per se. And so I had to take that with a grain of salt. So fast forward, I was in Italy in '98. I played at in Sassari, which is 2 hours south of Milan. Beautiful out there, love that. '99, I was in Hamburg, Germany. Loved to play over there. Was over there for a couple months. Went to Russia in 2000 and 2001. Was in Portugal in 2003, and was in Lithuania for a short period of time. So it was great to travel, man, and to see a different side of the world that I had never seen before. And it was a great experience.
Mm-hmm. Now, just to go back for a few seconds about this NBA thing, man. Were you one of the type of guys that said it's NBA a bust for me? You know, I may go play overseas for a couple of years, but at the end of the day, I want to be in the NBA, and this is what I'm working towards.
Most definitely. I knew when I was playing overseas, I was so much better than where I was playing, and I can tell you a story, man. People might think I'm crazy, but I can tell you a story, man. This is a true story, man. I'm in Russia. I get up in the mornings. We practice from 10 to 12 and 4 to 6. I'm in the gym at like 9 a.m. before practice even starts, in there shooting around and stuff. A guy walks in the gym. Never seen him before. He just watches me for about 30, 35 minutes. And I remember the guy's face, but he had like an old Reebok suit on. He looked Russian. I thought he was Russian. Didn't say a word. Fast forward, I finished playing in Russia. I'm watching a game. I think Sacramento Kings is playing somebody on TV. And this guy's in a suit, the same guy that I saw in Russia this morning watching me shoot the ball. He's in a suit sitting right behind the Sacramento Kings bench. Wow. Little did I, so you can put two and two together. Little did I know, you know, even though I was all the way in Russia, they were still observing and watching me. And I had some really good games over there. And I played against Andre Kirilenko, who ended up playing for the Utah Jazz. Yeah. A lot of great players. I played against Dirk Nowitzki before he went to the NBA in Germany. So I got a chance to play against a lot of great talent, man. I'm very thankful for those opportunities.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's funny that you tell that story, man. That's definitely something that you can tell your kids, or any young basketball players, man. That you never know who's watching. So you always have to give 110%, on the floor. That's definitely big. So you're playing overseas. Did you ever get any opportunities to come back to the States to play?
Yes. Orlando Magic brought me into a mini camp. I think it was around 2000. And that was a funny scenario. All right. So I came in the mini camp, and we played a little bit. But then, for me, I'm always observing things and trying to see, where do I fit in? How can I make things work? And I felt like I was more of a guy that they wanted to come in and compete with the other guys more than them observing me play on the floor, because we were on the sideline more than out there on the court at periods of time. And I'm like, hold on here. I didn't come here to just kind of hang out. I came to show what I could do, right?
Right.
So those opportunities were minimized during that time because they had an agenda. They knew who they were looking at and what they wanted. But I am still very thankful and grateful for them at least invite me there. But I was aware, and I kind of saw the setup, and I said, okay, I see what's going on here.
Right.
So, you know, yeah, you take it with a grain of salt. It's all a learning experience. And, you know, I tell you this, there was a guy that was in that camp, Chucky Atkins was there. It was his time. Yep, it was his time to shine. He had a great camp. They allowed him to play more out on the floor because they were looking at him. He was from Florida as well. He ended up getting signed that year. So I did see the process work for someone that was in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Right,
yeah.
Right. So when did Harold Deane, when did he know, man, it's time to hang it up?
You know, the competitive spirit in me has always been to compete wherever I had the opportunity, but I would say I went to St. Louis and played in the USBL for this team. And I was an assistant teacher and PE coach at the time, and they called me randomly out the blue to come play in St. Louis. I think they had lost like 7, 8, or 9 games in a row or something crazy. So I get the call. Maybe Harold Deane can help us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get out there, man, and we had some success. I had a couple good games, and I always remember that coach telling me this, and that's why, man, you got to stay open and listen when you know the right information is being told to you. The coach was saying, you don't got to score to be in the NBA. He kept on saying it. You don't got to score to be in the NBA. Like, I was hearing this from time to time to time, but I always was a scoring point guard, right? So, like I said, some of my challenges that I had in college and throughout my career was, okay, I'm a scoring point guard, but I got to still know how to get guys involved more, right? So long story short, man, I played, I guess maybe about 8, 9, or 10 games there. And, you know, I felt like that was an opportunity for me to go to the next level because I showed that I could play, obviously. And from that moment when I did not get that call up, when I felt like, hey, I still got it, I still can do this, I said, you know what? I'm going to start putting my energy towards younger kids that are coming up, and I can teach them the fundamentals and give back to the game of basketball that way. Because, you know, if you keep trying and you get to a certain age, there's a certain age where, you know, it's not that you give up on basketball, but you have to look at reality and say, hey, all right, is this going to, you know, work out for me past this next year or two? You give yourself a window of opportunity, and then if you've given it all that you have gotten inside of your body and knowing that you put the energy out there towards being successful and it doesn't happen, at least you can go to sleep at night knowing you gave it all you had.
Right. So you weren't one of those guys who had to challenge Father Time, because everybody knows that Father Time is undefeated and will always be undefeated.
I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to tell you something a lot of people don't know about me. So I had a hernia surgery when I was about 5 years old. I had another hernia surgery when I was in Germany in '99. After that, there was one thing in my mind mentally that I always asked myself, can I get to that 5th gear again after having these hernia surgeries? I would train and stuff and get in great shape, but then when it came to having that 5th gear again, the Grant Hills had to end their career early. He had, you know, some hernia issues. What's the boy, Brandon Roy?
Yeah.
Boy, Trailblazers had the same injury. He had to shut it down early because, and some knee stuff that was going on with him. But it's something about that core area. If you ever have hernia surgery and you're trying to get back to that 5th gear again, it's kind of like, okay, you're a Ferrari, you're driving real fast, but sometimes you gotta tone it down a notch,
right,
and not go to 5th gear too much, because your body might not be able to withstand that pounding and that pressure in 5th gear so much.
Yeah. Fast forward, man. You have a it's called what is it, high def skills training or a skills academy, or talk about that, man. Talk about what you have going on right now, because I know you're giving back to the community and teaching kids and training kids through the game of basketball. So talk about that, if you will.
Yes, indeed. High def training. I first established it in Los Angeles in 2013. I was doing fitness training, group fitness training at the time, but I was still doing basketball skill training. Since that time, things evolved more into basketball training here on the East Coast because people knew me more for basketball here on the East Coast, but out West, people knew me for fitness training. So, you know, I love to help kids. HighDefTraining.com is our website. I train kids, you know, from Virginia, Maryland, and DC. You know, my motto is one workout at a time. You know, we get in there, we work on proper footwork, shooting form, creating your shot off the dribble, more versatility as well. So I just enjoy helping people who are trying to get to the next levels of basketball and build their confidence along the way.
Right. Do you show them some of your work? Do you have some old footage and old videos that you bring and show them what a monster you were back in your day?
Oh man, it's crazy you say that, man. I was at my parents' house a couple weeks ago and I found some old VHS tapes, man. And, you know, we in the quarantine thing, so I had time to kind of look through some stuff, man, and I popped in a couple tapes, man, and I was like, wow. It don't seem like 23 years ago since, you know, I played college basketball, but
long time.
Man, I was pretty good. Like, you know, when you look back, you know what I'm saying? Damn, I was pretty good. So it was refreshing to know two things. One, that when you put in the hard work, eventually it'll pay off. And then the second thing, you cherish all the moments that you've shared with the people that were there with you at that time, my teammates, you know, coaches, and everybody that was involved, you know, during that time in my career.
Okay. A couple more questions, man. I'm gonna let you get out of here, man. What's next for Harold Deane?
Oh, wow. I would love a facility to continue to train kids. Player development is what I'm really big at. You know, I could see myself at college or pro level doing player development. I'm really good at building confidence, creating your shot off the dribble, and just the details as far as shooting the basketball and working angles to do counter moves against people when they're trying to cut you off one way, and knowing how to turn your shoulders or turn your hips a certain way and square up and knock down the shot. So those small details, man, are everything in basketball, as you know. So, you know, hopefully, you know, as you know, God, you know, brings the right people and the right situations into my life moving forward, that these things will happen and come to pass. But, you know, I'm just taking it one day at a time. I'm very thankful for, you know, everything that I've experienced up until this point.
All right. Best player you've played, best guard you played against in the ACC?
Oh, man. Stephon Marbury.
Stephon Marbury.
I got a story. Can I share it?
Let's go. What you got?
All right, so we playing in Charlottesville. We're in warm-ups. And usually I don't look down at the other end too much. I'm doing my thing in warm-ups and everything, but I've heard about Stephon Marbury and how great he is and all this stuff. So I'm like, all right, let me just check him out in warm-ups and see what he got going on. So he's jumping up to the rim and his head is literally at the rim. And he's laying the ball up over top of the rim. And I'm like, it's gonna be a tough game today. You know, I can see the athleticism, I can see the quickness and the swagger or whatever. And a lot of people, they have never heard this before. This is a true story. I had to deny Steph the ball maybe 15, 20 times in that game because I knew once he got the ball, you're not gonna shut him down. He's gonna be effective whether you try to stop her from scoring. He was smart enough to find open players and pass the ball. He had this crossover from right to left where he would put it over his body, and once he got his shoulders past you, he was gone. So At halftime of the game, after me trying to deny him 7 or 8 times in the first half and cut him off, I'm literally laying out in the floor in the locker room, breathing hard as I don't know what. Like, I had never put out that type of energy guarding somebody ever in my career. Now, he's the only, well, I'm the only person that kept him under 10 points in that whole season, because he only played 1 year in the ACC. Yeah. I'm the only player that held him to 8 points in that game, but he did have 15 assists in that game.
Wow.
So it shows you the smartness that he had out on the floor. So I would say that was probably my toughest assignment, that year, playing against Steph.
Right. Another tool you can use with the kids, man. You know, definitely another tool. Excluding yourself, take yourself out of this next question. Who's the best player from the state of Virginia?
Oh, wow. Ooh, passed away, alive, it doesn't matter, or alive right now?
Don't matter who. Dead or alive.
Hey, I'm going to say this, but I got to give some credit to some other players also. Best player in the state of Virginia, I would say Allen Iverson. A lot of people don't know this. From 14 to about 17, me and Allen played against each other in AAU. I was Richmond Metro, he was Boo Williams. And we battled every time we played against each other. And the quickness and the athleticism and the toughness, you know, this kid could play. And I mean, obviously we know that now, but I saw something in him at 14, 15, 16 that was different than anything that I had seen before. And his quickness with the ball. A lot of people can run without the ball, but when you got a ball in your hands and you're quick with the ball, his quickness was like nobody that I had ever seen before. So Allen Iverson, I would say that. Moses Malone, Ralph Sampson, David Robinson, and Brian Stiff. I got to give Brian Stiff some love also.
You know, and real quick, man, a lot of people don't talk about Johnny Newman either.
Oh,
he played. Yeah, Johnny Newman was nice, and you know, and he's from Virginia. He's from the Richmond area, right?
He's from Danville, Virginia.
Danville. Okay. Yeah. All right. So last thing, man. This is my very last thing, man. It's called Free Game, and basically, man, I just want you to give some free game to the listeners, man, and it can be about life, it can be about basketball, it could be about anything, man. Just give us some Harold Deane free game.
Oh man, thank you. I would love to. First and foremost, you know, I give all honor and praise to God. Without him, I would not be here. Without him, I would not have gone through the tough times and made it out to the other side. So I would say first and foremost, keep God first. Keep good people around you. Stay positive. The people that are in your circle, if they're not applauding for you, cheering for you, and happy that you're doing good things, then you need to evaluate that friendship. If someone is not willing to do the things that you are willing to do for them, then you need to evaluate that friendship. Continue to keep working hard. A lot of times what happens in life, it happens in cycles. Right before something great happens, you might go through your biggest triumph, failure. You know, those things will happen right before you have success. So you have to continue to stay on your path, stay positive, and to continue to work hard towards your dreams and your passions. And eventually, you will see some success. Right.
Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show. This was really big, man. Everybody, please give this man his roses while he's still here, Mr. Harold Deane. To me, one of the unsung heroes of the ACC. Nobody talk about these days, but you definitely got to do your homework and go check my man out, Mr. Harold Deane on Sports Talk with Player Agent 3.